Hey, welcome back to another video, everyone. So, first off, I added a few new touches. I finally got a stand for my DVDs, so I don't have to pick them up constantly. That's so nice, and we're talking about Candyman. I was excited to talk about it, and then I watched it, and I got more excited. So it's directed by Bernard Rose, and based on the book, The Forbidden by Clive Barker, who along with Bernard Rose wrote the screenplay for this film. Clive Barker you may recognize as the man who brought us Hellraiser, which I have not seen. I don't know if I'll ever watch those movies. I haven't fully decided. It's from 1992, a horror slasher, starring Tony Todd as the Candyman himself. He has a name, it's like Daniel Robitaille or something like that. But that's not revealed till the second movie, but I'll just tell you now, anyway. Virginia Madsen as Helen Lyle. I don't really remember this character from the movie, but Bernard Rose plays Archie Walsh. I don't necessarily remember that character from the movie, but anyway. Vanessa Estelle Williams as Annie Marie McCoy, Xander Berkeley as Trevor Lyle, and Cassie Lemons as Bernadette. The film has a 74% on Rotten Tomatoes, and with a budget of $8 million, the film made $25.7 million at the box office, so it did make back its money, it just didn't do too well. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the reboot slated for September 25th of this year. As of right now, that's still the release date. Fingers crossed that it stays the release date, because I really want to see it. Tony Todd will return as Candyman, and it is directed by Nia DaCosta, and has its screenplay written by the masterful Jordan Peele, who we will see very soon when we cover Us. I believe it's in 2 weeks. So, that's always nice to look forward to. I'll also mention I used the unrated version for this film. It doesn't add too much, but it's worth it. To get it out of the way, the simple organ and piano music that comes with this movie, composed by Philip Glass, is worth the watch by itself. Now, you know that I don't always mention who wrote the music, who did this, who did that. Because I enjoyed this movie so much, I actually kind of went off. I did like a lot of research. I watched other people's reviews. I looked at the IMDb pages, so I found as much information as I possibly could, and I'm going to try and continue to do that as we go along, just to kind of get more information to you. So this review will be kind of the template for all of that. Anyway, just watching Tony Todd's spectacular performance as the title character Candyman makes this one of the best slasher ghost stories out there, which at this point should just be a subgenre of itself, with the likes of Pennywise, our friend here Freddy Krueger, and yes, Jason Voorhees after part 6. So this guy, because, you know, he's kind of a zombie now. And of course, the Candyman himself. Oh no, Freddy died. Oh well. He dies in like every movie he's in. Anywho. Candyman, being that he was killed by his slave owner, so he was a slave and then he was killed by his master. Yeah, we'll just leave Freddy down for a while. Because he impregnated the owner's daughter. They then cut off his hand and he was stung to death by bees and buried at the same spot that the Chicago housing Cabrini Green now stands. And you can summon Mr. Candyman by saying his name 5 times in the mirror. So that's just kind of how he's a ghost at this point, because the movie Candyman does take place in 1992. And since all of them have a certain element of like the supernatural to them, why not make it a subgenre at this point? And if it is, go ahead and correct me, I'm probably wrong. Anyway, he has a certain way of being charismatic and terrifying at the same time, even when he threatens to split you from groin to gullet. I'd like to mention that the scene towards the end when he has Helen in his arms and we cut to his face and there's bees coming out. Those are real bees. He had a mouth guard created by this movie's special effects artist, and so that they wouldn't go too far. He said he could feel them sneak past the guard every once in a while, and he also suffered a few, 23, minor stings on his chest from all the bees, because he does have a chest full of bees, for which he negotiated $1,000 per bee sting. Damn, that's $23,000 on top of all the other money he made from this movie. No wonder he's constantly telling people to be his victim. Anyway, the bees were controlled by Norman Gary, who worked on the movie My Girl. If you haven't seen that, it's actually kind of a depressing movie. I don't understand why you would watch it. I watched it, and like I said, it's depressing. Virginia Madsen is excellent as well. For a good portion of the film, she was actually under hypnosis whenever she encountered Candyman. Why? Bernard didn't want her to scream because he said it was cliche and in his mind annoying. I get that. She was not a fan though, but she's okay, obviously. She's doing perfectly well. Her performance reminds me a lot of Elizabeth Moss's Cecilia from 2020's The Invisible Man. If you don't know, which I of course have it right here. This was one of my favorite movies of 2020. Actually, it is my favorite movie of 2020. Let's hope this guy's sequel comes soon. Looking at you, Blumhouse. Anyway, considering that Helen is the only one who can see Candyman, and then Cecilia is the only one who knows that Adrian, or the Invisible Man, is there, thus making them look insane whenever they point it out, which, considering where I would place the Invisible Man, is probably why I really liked this movie, and I can definitely say that's why I was excited to watch it for the first time. I had seen a bunch of other reviews for it, and you know, I knew some things going in, I knew some other things that, you know, would spoilers going into it, but still, it's, to me, when I watch a movie, it's not about the spoilers, it's not about, you know, the it's more about the experience of actually watching the movie versus knowing anything that happens in it. Oh, this doesn't want to stand still. There we go, that's better. So there is that. There are some really nice practical effects aside from the aforementioned bees, because let's face it, those were practical. None of that is like digitally animated. Don't look at it and go, wow, those CG effects look real. Well, it's because it's real bees. The look of the hook on Candyman's hand is absolutely gross and wonderful at the same time. And I was looking everywhere. They make these NECA figures, real toys, whatever you want to call them, and they have one for Candyman, and I could not find one anywhere, and I was kind of upset about that. I really wanted one, but because I was gonna be like, yeah, look at that, it looks real right now. Well, it's a toy, who cares? There's so much fake blood on it, and even like a few like nails that you would hammer into wood. Just wow. Now, the historical side of this, being the story of Cabrini Green, has a grain of truth to it too. Cabrini Green was a housing development that was built for the mixed income of Chicago's North Side, which also, weird fact that may not be fact, it may just be opinion at this point, very few horror movies are ever set in real cities like Chicago. You'll usually find your fictitious cities like Crystal Lake, Woodsboro, Springwood, Haddonfield. Never real life cities, and if you do get real life cities, they end up filming in Vancouver to pass it off as Manhattan. Looking at you, Friday Part 8. Jason Takes Manhattan. More like Jason Takes a boat. Anyway, Cabrini Green was built in 1942 and was continuously added on to for 20 years. The facility had quickly succumbed to gang violence. You might be wondering though, this is a movie review, not a historical context. What the hell's wrong with you? Well, let me let you in on a little secret. The scene right towards like the like end of the first act, part of the second act, when Helen and Bernadette, who are only grad students working on their thesis to discuss why an entire housing complex would blame multiple murders on an urban legend versus the gangs outside, arrive at the building, they're met by gang members. The thing was, those weren't actors. Those were real-life gang members. Part of one of the 5 gangs on site that were paid off by production to film on the location of Cabrini Green. Now, the outside of it, yes, was Cabrini Green, full disclosure. The inside portion, some of it was sets, but a lot of the inside was also part of Cabrini Green. Candyman's lair, that was obviously a set. I think some of the hallways were also sets as well, but still, real-life gang members on set. They found bullet holes in a couple of their vans. They found bullet holes in a couple of their, like, industrial lights. Obviously, they weren't shooting at the production as it was going on. This was just stuff happening at night. So anyway, the last building of the complex was torn down in 2011, which I actually am mad about. I really wanted to go to Chicago to see it just from a historic standpoint. I'm really into that weird crap, like going to see historic shit. I don't know. I really like it, bro. I don't know what to tell you. I don't have any life experience or knowledge to discuss any of the racial issues this film touches on, but I want you to know that there are, and while Tony Todd plays the excellent Candyman, according to some people, the portrayal of the side characters are too stereotypical. While I do get where they're coming from with that, I think they're just fine. I mean, they are side characters, and a lot of the gang members, while played by real-life gang members, their voice acting is dubbed over by professional voice actors, which kind of makes me wonder what those gang members were saying, and when they walk in, they assume that Helen and Bernadette are cops, so they're like, "Hey, yo, everybody wake up, 5-0. I get it, you think they're cops. So what exactly did they say that would have been different? I don't know. So, do I have any issues with this? Well, yeah, actually I have a couple. The first issue I have is the beginning is really slow, but once Candyman arrives on scene, that's when the movie picks up. And, like I said, it's just that first, kind of moment where Candyman pops up and he goes, "Helen," in his just beautiful voice. I say what you will, Tony Todd is a great man. But he's calling her name in this like mystical voice, and it's like, whoa. I don't exactly know how what do you call it? Hypnotism went on during set, like what was the trigger word, but my imagination would be that it was probably Helen, but I feel like anytime someone said her name, she slipped into it, so they probably didn't go with that. Maybe it was like tacos or something. She's like, "Tacos," that'd be funny. That'd be hilarious. I mean, not for nothing. Also, I don't quite know how I feel about the cheating husband situation. But the character that he's a professor, the husband, Trevor, and he's kind of a douchebag, and he falls in love. He bangs a student on the side, and once Helen's put into the loony bin, if you know what I'm saying, and he obviously is like, "Well, my wife's a crazy woman. Time to bang my student again." No, bro, no. That's not how it works. So, yes. Sorry, I just can't quite see. It's a subplot I don't care about, but I'll grade this a 9 out of 10. It's definitely become one of my favorite slashers, but it's not your conventional, stereotypical, cheesy slashers. Like Halloween or Friday the 13th. And while among those being two of my favorites, this has probably cemented its spot. I'm gonna redo my horror ranking at some point because I did not like that I had like 11 honorable mentions. I don't know what was wrong with me when I did it. Make up your mind, past Luke. Anyway, you know, given the fact that this movie has kind of cemented its place and changed the world of horror, I can't really grade it any lower because honestly it doesn't even deserve a lower grade. It's perfect where I mean, this is a perfect movie in my mind, but other than that slow beginning and the weird gross dirtbag husband subplot, I don't know. The acting, I should mention, from not really the side characters but the other main cast members is good. You know, Bernadette's a lovely person. Anna Marie is just wonderful. You know, those characters are really great. And then, you know, the husband, he's kind of good at being a dirtbag, but that's just kind of, I think, who he is in real life. So I hope that you enjoyed kind of the more factual stuff I got into, like the history behind Cabrini Green, the brief bit of it. There's a lot more there. I was reading it last night. I was like, whoa. And of course, kind of the production stuff, you know. That's the kind of stuff I really want to start talking about soon, so fingers crossed and thumbs up. I don't know why I did that and then said fingers crossed. I don't know. Tomorrow I'll be looking at Batman Forever, and not as good as Candyman, and they came out a couple years apart. So now, once again, fingers crossed that Candyman for this year comes out on time in September, and even bigger fingers crossed that Halloween Kills comes out on time in October. And yeah, because now I'm really looking forward to that Candyman movie, and of course you all know I'm looking forward to Halloween Kills. So until tomorrow with Batman Forever, and until I redo my horror ranking, I'm Luke, and I'll see you guys later.